Sidney J. Harris once said that the time to relax is when you don't have the time for it. Is that not the most frustrating thing you've ever heard in your whole life? That the time to relax is when you don't have the time to relax. It's especially frustrating considering that we're all college students. We have lives, we have class and work and relationships. We're busy people, so to hear that the time to relax is when we don't have time to relax, it's kind of a bummer. But that's exactly why I'm giving my speech on this today, is because I feel that out of all of the age groups of people, college students are the people who need to hear it the most. So I feel qualified to speak on this subject because I have researched and studied this topic for hours. I looked up experiments and studies, and I know all of the logic behind it. But I also have personal experience. I know what it is to overwork yourself. I've done it. I was all go for years on end. Hardly took any time for myself, but when that pushed me into depression, I was forced to take a step back. I was forced to take the breaks that I didn't have time to take. And in a weird way, that was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. Because now I have this tool, this skill, that I can take with me into the rest of my life. So what I want to communicate to you guys today is the idea that taking breaks is not only beneficial to you, it's also necessary. I plan on covering the damaging effects of stress, break taking and all that that entails, and the benefits of doing so. So we all have some level of stress in our lives, but what effect does that actually have on us? Well, the first one is one that you guys probably already know, and it's health problems. According to the American Psychological Association, 77% of Americans report regularly experiencing the physical impacts of stress, the physical symptoms. Now, some of these symptoms include colds and flu, depression, eczema, stomach ulcers, cancer. But these aren't even all of them. There are so many more. And that's 77% of the population. That doesn't even include, mind you, the number of people who only experience the emotional and mental impacts of stress. The second impact is decreased productivity. According to an article in the New York Times, 1 in 5 college students will report experiencing so much stress that they feel that they do not have the ability to study or hang out with friends. That is a big deal. Really big deal. If you don't have the ability to study because you're so stressed, it creates a really fast and dangerous downward spiral. Because you don't have time to study, you don't have the ability to study because you're stressed. And then because you don't study, that stresses you out more. And then you're so stressed that you didn't study, and you're so stressed that you didn't study that you just continue to not study for anything. And that just keeps going and going and going. But according to psychologist John Rook, a similar effect is found in other places, in other walks of life, in everyday people, at their workplace, in their social lives, in their families. It's a problem, and it's sad because it's so easily fixed. Fortunately, there are ways to combat this stress. According to psychologist Charlotte Fritz, the key to unwinding and combating stress is taking breaks. But a couple things that you should know about taking breaks. The first of which is that you do not have to take a long, drawn-out, 2-week vacation to the Caribbean, although that would be really nice. You You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on travel money or hours planning out every single thing that you're gonna do. You can get the same effects of vacationing at home. The second thing that you should know is that these breaks that you take at home can be as long or as short as you need them to be. They can be 4 hours if you have the time and desire to do that. They could also be 20 minutes. But if you're gonna have a 20-minute break, you should probably know how to make that effective, how to make that time count, right? So you should know that the most efficient way to utilize your breaks is to get your mind off of whatever it is that you were working on. Get your mind off of whatever it was that was stressing you out. This can mean taking 15 minutes to work on a hobby of yours. Maybe you write short stories, or maybe you read a lot, maybe you write music. It doesn't matter. You could take 15 minutes and talk to a friend. As long as it gets your mind off of whatever it was that you were working on. But one strategy that I highly recommend is a thing called mindfulness. If you don't know what mindfulness is, it is a type of meditation that is intended to help you focus on the present, instead of focusing on the past or on the future. If you focus on the present, you're not worried about all the little things that you have to do in 5 minutes. And you're not worried about that thing that Sally said to you that one time, what she meant by it. You're worried about right now. You're focusing on what you are doing instead of what you have done or what you will do. And when you focus on right now, you get more done. You're more productive because your stress levels are lower. Another benefit is that your stress levels are lower. I use this for my anxiety and my depression, and I highly recommend it to my friends. I've never had anybody come back to me and tell me that it didn't work for them. So I highly recommend it. It's very easy. Now that we've talked about the importance of taking breaks, let's talk about how taking breaks can benefit you. So just imagine this for a second. You have 20 minutes in your whole day to set aside for taking a break. So you take my advice and you get your mind off of whatever it is that stresses you out on a daily basis. And maybe you practice mindfulness, maybe you don't. But you do this every day. And over time, you will have better health, higher productivity. You'll be focused on now. So your stress levels will be lower because you won't be worried about other things. And all of these things come together to create a higher quality of life overall. And doesn't that just sound great? If you could have a higher quality of life, wouldn't you want that? I know I would. But it looks like it is almost time for me to take a break from speaking. So to summarize, stress is inevitable these days. Taking breaks can help to make that less of a burden, though. Overworking yourself can be damaging, but if you take some time for yourself, every once in a while, you'll walk away feeling so much better. So I have 2 challenges for you today. The first of which is to go to palouse-mindfulness.com and select the body scan exercise. It will take 20 minutes of your time, and you will walk away feeling amazing. Your stress will melt. And I use it before I study. I use it before I go to bed. It helps me focus, it helps me relax, it's great. The second challenge is to just take a little bit of time to breathe when you don't feel like you have the time to breathe. Because, in the words of Ashley Brilliant, sometimes the most vital and urgent thing that you can do is take a complete rest. Thank you.